DC Multiverse!
Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Brad, the DC Universe Geek, and today we're going to have a look at the McFarlane Collector's Edition Action Comics #1, Superman. The packaging for these figures, though quite similar to the regular McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse action figure packaging, differs in a few very specific ways, with the added fancy color of silver to the box art and the words McFarlane Collector's Edition down the side of the front. With, of course, the side of the box having the character's name and where the action figure is based from, and the back, of course, still having a fantastic piece of artwork. In this case, it's that classic image of Superman smashing the crap out of someone's car, while the criminal on the ground looks up at what he's witnessing with absolute bewilderment. Now, out of the box, this is everything, and I mean everything, that we received for this collector edition Superman figure. We get the trading card as usual, but we also get this little trading card holder. Of course, Supes has an action figure base. He does come with a flight stand as well as some chains for attaching to the figure. Now, the card holder is something that if you're only going to collect a few figures and you just want to put a few pieces on your shelf, well, this is kind of neat and it sort of makes sense. However, I'm sure a lot of collectors, as I previously mentioned, rather than getting this card holder, would probably rather have gotten more accessories like interchangeable body parts, perhaps a piece of kryptonite. These cards are definitely different, and I would actually say probably more attractive than the previous ones because the image goes edge to edge, and then you have McFarlane Collector's Edition on the bottom in shiny silver. The back of the card is very similar to all of the previous McFarlane DC Multiverse trading cards in that you have your data file, your image right here, and then you have the little bar here that shows which character is, except for this is a shiny silver, carrying on the motif from the box and the trading card. You could pause to read this data file if you'd like to, but let's face it, we all know Kal-El's bio. I do want to take just a moment to mention that yes, it is very cool we get a flight stand, and that honestly, I feel like every single flight character should come with a flight base, rather than just one to stand on. Also, I will point out the construction of these also needs to change because they get very loose, very quick, and they become very useless much faster than you think. I've actually had to throw away about 10 of these because they just get so loose they won't hold the figure anymore. Now, I don't usually spend very much time talking about the action figure stands for these figures anymore because once we've seen one, we've seen them all. However, I do like the change for these collector figures that they use the silver paint instead because it makes it kind of stand out, it makes it pop on the shelf. Other than that, they're exactly the same, no difference. If you've had questions as to whether or not this chain that Superman is meant to be busting out of has any wires in it to make it posable, the answer is no. Unlike the Mezco 1/12 collective chains that come with their Superman figure that you can clearly see is a wired chain, this one is just a black, dark grayish chain that has no wires and is not really posable. However, one thing that I feel like some people may miss is that you can actually stick these chains together. You kind of stick the nub in there, and then the nub in there, and then the nub in here, and you have chains that have been stuck together that Superman can then burst out of. When we come to the Superman figure, I have definitely very mixed feelings about it. I love the tone of blue that has been used for this figure. If you'll notice here, I have him lined up with a bunch of other Superman figures from McFarlane Toys, and we have yet to see this exact shade of blue, and I'm really liking it. The S on Superman's chest here is accurate to the cover of Action Comics #1. Another thing that's kind of neat about this Superman figure is the fact that this is a solid mold. There is no holes for how you would usually attach Superman's S to his torso, in that usually there is some sort of indent for the S to fit down on the inside, whereas this was just simply painted onto the torso. So we could actually be seeing our first naked buff body buck, perhaps the beginnings of it. You know me as someone who loves to make custom figures. This is dying, dying for one of these bodies to be customized into a classic Silver Age style Superman. The belt loops here for Superman's trunks, you'll notice they come unpainted. And some people may argue, well, that's because they were unpainted in the comic. Actually, they weren't. The actual design is that Superman's belt loops were intended to be colored in, but sometimes the belt is painted red, Other times it's just forgotten and omitted altogether. Sometimes it's just a yellow band. But you'll see here in Action Comics #1, it is actually intended to have a buckle and the red belt loops. One thing that I'm sure a lot of fans will be a little bit disappointed in is that we have the regular same old Superman boots that he is wearing here in blue. Whereas if we compare DC Direct's version of a classic Superman, you'll notice that he's actually got these anklet shoes with these straps that go around, almost like Roman or Greco sandals. Personally, I think that would have been a much better choice. Resculpt down here, give him different boots so that it is accurate, and I feel like more people would be 100% into this figure. However, this figure, as you can see on the screen, is going to get a repaint with red boots and an S that stuck around a bit longer than the one that came on this particular figure, one that is more similar to the DC Direct version of this character. Some other things I really like about this figure is that the skin tone for him is certainly a lot better than most of the previous Superman figures that we have received to date. And the face sculpt, I know that it received some ribbing online, but I don't think that it's that bad. I feel like the hair is fairly close to what the artists were trying to draw on the page, and he's got the sort of squinty Superman eyes. I think that this is overall a pretty darn good Superman head sculpt. One more thing to add is that this Superman's head sculpt actually sits too low on the body. An easily rectified situation indeed, though. Here we see 3 different size neck pegs. The light blue one obviously came on this figure, and here are the corresponding images to those neck pegs. Personally, I like number 2 the best, but number 3 doesn't look bad either. Number 1 just looks way too low. Try it yourself. So what do I think about the Superman figure? Honestly, I am glad that I picked him up. I ordered mine from Big Bad Toy Store, and it came much earlier than the estimated arrival date, along with our good friends Alan Scott and also Abyss. I just haven't had the chance to make the videos yet, but they will be coming when I have time to make them. And for those of you who don't know, the Abyss is a much newer Batman villain. But yeah, though not the most accurate take on this version of Superman, on what his appearance looked like during this time in this character's existence, I'm definitely mostly happy with it. It's nice to have a version of the character from that time period, and it also gives me a little bit of inspiration from what I can do from a customization standpoint. Anyway, that's all the time I have today. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video, found it an interesting, useful waste of time. If you have, you know where the like button is. Tell all your friends about me, and I will see you with the next one. Have a DC day, everybody, and take care.